What's up and welcome to QnA, the show where I take your questions from YouTube and Twitter and answer them here on this show in video format. Speaking of Twitter, please follow me on Twitter at QnC. Look, man, we just beat the Bengals on the field. Now I'm in this competition with a Bengals fan, Ace Boogie. We're doing a race to get to 10K followers, the last one in that race. So if I don't get to 10K before he does, I gotta eat a hot chip. Now, does that sound right to y'all? Should a Browns fan have to eat a hot chip because he lost to a Bengal fan? Nah, man. Browns don't lose to the Bengals. So if you want to keep the streak alive, if you want to keep that good momentum going, please follow me on Twitter at KWEN_C. You'll see it right here when I show the question, right? Boom. Right there. Link is down here in the description. There is no excuse for you not to find it. Follow me on Twitter. We are down by a couple hundred, so I need a couple hundred of y'all. I need a good push to get back in this race so we can get back in and make the universe right. But right now we losing. We getting cooked right now, but the momentum's back in our court. So we'll see what happens. Follow me on Twitter, please. Please. But that being said, we got a question from Bradley who says, do you think Mike TakiTaki is a thing or just for memes? Sort of some and sort of other. Like, they didn't really have a true Mike out there because they played a lot of nickel and a lot of cover two, and they're going to be able to exist like that against some of the teams coming up on the schedule, right? I think you can exist like that against the Dolphins. I think you can exist like that against the Bills, and I think you can exist like that against Tampa Bay simply because those teams don't run the ball often and they don't run the ball well. Other teams, you might not be able to live like that, but I think there is something to TakiTaki having a bigger role. He's been the one consistent linebacker of this whole crew outside of AWOC, and AWOC's out. So, yeah, I think there's something to it. I think it's more than a meme. I think he's actually a good player. And I think that we need to take advantage of him more often and put him in more positions to make plays more often. Lance says, do you think Perrion is on the hot seat since he was a healthy scratch for Monday? Is he still missing meetings? I don't think he's missing meetings or anything like that, and I'm not going to assume anything like that is happening unless I have, like, concrete evidence that it is, because it's very dangerous to assume things like that. That's how misinformation spreads. But when it comes to Perrion, I think this is more or less him just being a young player and the Browns figuring out, hey, when we play these teams that don't like to run the ball that much, we can get away with being a little lighter inside. So they put Isaiah Thomas and Alex Wright in the interior more often, and then rotated those two guys out with Jordan Elliott and Tommy Togiai, and that worked for most of the night. So they're able to use their length. I think this was just an adjustment. They didn't feel like they needed true three techs out there this week. And again, I think they'll be able to get away with that for the next 3 weeks because you're not playing run heavy team, even 4 weeks, because the Texans don't really do that. So you got some teams on your schedule that don't really run the ball well. When you play those teams, you can get away with getting a little lighter so you can get more pass rush going. Taven Bryant played well as well. So I think that's what they're thinking there. Perrion, look, he's a young player. He's a very young player. And he's a defensive lineman, so I'm going to give him 3 years, right? You got to give young D tackles 3 years to be able to build up, learn how to play in the interior in the NFL. And I think this is just him having a rough rookie year. Hopefully he can turn this around and make this rookie year a footnote to his career. But, yeah, it's been a rough rookie year for him. Next question comes from Mr. Hamp to you. Says, since we are keeping Hunt for the rest of the year, is there any way we can keep him beyond 2023? What if the offense is rolling when Watson's coming back? I don't think the Browns keep him, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. Kareem Hunt's really good, but I think that they feel that who they have behind him is really good. And I forget, his name is escaping my head for whatever reason, but I'm pretty sure you'll remind me in the comment section. But yeah, the rookie they drafted out of Cincinnati, that's who they feel like is going to be as good, if not better, than Kareem Hunt. He has younger, fresher legs. I don't think he's coming back, and I think it'll be a mutual parting of ways at the end of the season. And I think it would be best for both sides. I think for Kareem Hunt, he'll get an opportunity to start somewhere, get the carries that he deserves, get the focus that he deserves. And I think for the Browns, they'll get an opportunity to play some of the younger guys that they want to put in there. I think we'll be better off for it. And I think that will be kind of the case there for this team. The next question comes from Steven, who says, Q, is Stefanski actually underrated as a coach given the production he's gotten out of historically mid quarterbacks like Keenum, Cousins, Baker, and now Jacoby? This is something I pointed out, right? And people take it whatever type of way. Whenever you mention Baker Mayfield, there's a section of people who like lose their mind and think you're like attacking him instead of making a point about somebody else. But I tried to make this point last week. Is that look at what Stefanski has done. Everywhere he's gone, the quarterback play has been better than you would expect, right? Kirk Cousins has his best 2 years under Kevin Stefanski's leadership. Then you look at Baker Mayfield. What was Baker Mayfield's best and most successful year? It was under Kevin Stefanski. And even when you look at like how bad Baker Mayfield's been, he's a 15 QBR right now. He just got benched for PJ Walker, who was most known for being a XFL legend. That's who took his job, the third string quarterback in Carolina. That's how bad Baker has been playing this year, and he's healthy. Think about that. Baker Mayfield is healthy, and he's playing as bad as he was. And you can make the argument. You don't even got to make the argument. It's true. Baker was better last year with the torn labrum in Stefanski's system than he is right now healthy without it. I mean, that says it all, right? I mean, we can even bring up Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett has never looked this good, has never had games where he has looked this good, you know what I mean, until he played with Kevin. Kevin is really good at getting the most out the quarterback position. We hope that continues when he gets a actually good quarterback with like Deshaun Watson. And there are arguments to say that could or could not continue, right? The obvious argument to say it could continue is if he does this with Kirk Cousins, good Lord, what's he going to do with Deshaun Watson? The argument against it is, hey, when you have a better quarterback, the coach has less control. And is that lack of control going to be something that has an effect on Stefanski, right? Now, certain quarterbacks are different, right? Some are more susceptible to coaching than others. Deshaun seems to be on that side of things. He seems to want to be coached, so maybe this has a mutual benefit. But yeah, that's one of the things with Kevin, man. Like, it's hard. I mean, you can even point to, was it Blaine Gabbert that we played? Nick Mullins, my bad. Nick Mullins, we played. He almost beat the Raiders and kept the season alive last year. And that was Kevin Stefanski. Like, Kevin and his system and the way that he coaches things on offense, there's clearly a method to it. I know it makes people upset sometimes, but there's clearly a method to the madness because he gets more out of these quarterbacks than anybody expects on a consistent basis. We're not talking about a 1 or 2 year sample size. We're talking about going all the way back to 2018 with Kevin. That he has had a track record of this with Kirk Cousins, with Baker Mayfield, now Jacoby Brissett, and you can even name like guys like Case Keenum who went 2-0 last year under Kevin. You can name Nick Mullins, like all these guys that he has worked with. They leave Kevin, they don't play as well. You know what I mean? Or if they do play just as well, it's because they kept somebody who kept what Kevin had intact over there. This next question comes from CTG Cement. Says, it might sound like a moot point, but after last night's performance, why does it seem like we always run against stack box side of the defense? No, that's not what's going on. One, like they like to run on the weak side most of the time or wherever the hash is. They like to run on the right side just because they have the better run blockers there. Jet Wills is not as good of a run blocker as Jack Conklin, which is kind of typical of left and right tackles. But I don't think they run towards the stack side of the box. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's what they're doing. It's just you see the boxes stacked on that side. Because when I look at it on film, it's usually 8 people in the box, 2, like they split them 4-4 or 2-2-2. Like it's usually not like that. But I appreciate your question, CT. The next question comes from Greg, who says, hey, Q, you're taking recent weeks that Joe Woods is gone after the season despite what pans out. If the defense continues to play like this against the Bengals, is it still the case? I would still make the argument, yeah. Now, if they play like that for the rest of the year, I mean, they could go very far if they play like that for the rest of the year, right? So, obviously, like, that is, like, if they play like that for the rest, we're talking about a team that can go to AFC Championship, Super Bowl, whatever. If they play at a higher level than what they've played at the first 8 weeks, but not necessarily at that level, I would still make the argument that Joe Woods has to go because Clearly, the talent's there. There's something blocking the talent from playing that well. And why does it take this long to get to that point? And we can't afford to keep doing this with him, right? That's the argument that I would make. But if they play like that for the rest of the year, oh yeah, nobody's getting fired. Everybody getting promoted. Joe Woods might get hired somewhere to be a head coach. Who knows? If they play at that level. Let me make that very clear before somebody clips that and makes it seem like I'm out like saying something I didn't. Ryan says, do you think this team can pull together after the bye week with the current coaching staff and players, turn the season around, get into the playoffs? Absolutely. It's all right there in front of them. Miami just got Bradley Chubb, but still, I think that's still a winnable game. Bradley Chubb doesn't really move the needle for me either way. I think that the Tampa Bay game is certainly winnable. Buffalo, tough. But if you can get to 5 wins with Deshaun coming back, you still got a shot, especially with the division being as wide open as it is. When we got to this 5 to 7 win paradigm with the Browns, we did that under the assumption that 11 or 12 games would have to be what you get to win the AFC North. We are finding out that everybody is kind of bad this year, and that 9 or 10 games might get you it. And if that's the case, 5 keeps you alive, 4 keeps you alive. And even with the wild card, it might be one of those years where a 500 team gets in the wild card too. So everything's wide open. Everything's on the table. Yeah, the Browns aren't playing well, but a lot of good teams aren't playing well right now too. So the Browns kind of got lucked out there. Is that it for all of the questions today? That is all of the questions today. Again, guys, thank you for watching. And if you haven't already, please make sure you follow me on Twitter at KWEN_C. Also, check out the Cavs Burner account. If you're into the Cavs and want to hear Cavs content, check that out. If you want to hear more NFL content, check out the Worst Take channel. I just put a video up there as well. But y'all have a great day. Have a good night.